everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film my April TBR check-in and book haul. And yeah, I am excited to report to you that I am continuing to reduce the TBR. So let's just get to it. Let's look at the numbers. Here we are, my little handy dandy chart. I read a total of 13 books in April. Only 4 of those were off my shelf, but I only brought in 1 book. So no unhauls. That gives me a -3 for the month, which gives me 104. 104 is the total for the physical TBR. That is awesome. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm continuing to maintain this downward trend. Who knows? Who knows how long it will last? I am sure that I will be buying books in May when I'm on my trip. So we'll see. We'll see. But I only bought 1 in April. I read 4 off my shelves. Mostly this month was, I read a lot. I read 4 book 2 prize books. All those were from the library. I listened to some audiobooks. Those were from Scribd. So yeah, that really cut into the number of physical books that I read off the TBR, but I still did read 4. So let's just talk about some of the things that I hit, some of the accomplishments that I made in the month of April. I read 4 books that counted for People April, which was the readathon, to read a book that was either biography, autobiography, or memoir about a person. So I read the biography Ivan the Terrible. That was a book off my physical TBR. I read a biography of William H. Taft. That was a book I borrowed from Scribd. I read I'm Glad My Mom Died, which was a memoir. I read that for the Book 2 prize. That was from the library. And I read Did Ye Hear Mammy Died, which was another Book 2 prize book, another memoir, another library borrow. So that was 4 books total for People April. I'm really pleased with that. I do tend to read a lot of biography and memoir, so not surprising, but still feel very pleased with those results. I read 2 books for Trans Girl April. So both of those were one was an audiobook from the library and one was an audiobook from Scribd. So the first one was Felix Ever After, which was the group read for Trans Girl April. And then I listened to a science fiction story book, Light from Uncommon Stars. And that one was an audiobook from Scribd, as I said. So on top of that, I read the Book Naturalist book club book, which was Call of the Reed Warbler. That was off my physical TBR. I read 1 book for Dowie-thon. That was Birdsplaining. That was an ebook from Scribd. And I read 1 book off the Ancient TBR. So I finished this short story collection, The Birds by Daphne du Maurier. This was on my Ancient TBR. And you can see right here, only 4 books left. 2 of which I have planned buddy reads for later on this year. And so that leaves 2 that I need to schedule in somewhere. But I was really glad to have picked this one up and read it. I don't know why I let it sit on my TBR for as long as I did, because it was really, really good. So glad I have that one finished. So that's the reading wrap up for the month of April. I had only brought in 1 book, and it was a gift. And that is this one. This is The Lonely Londoners by Selvone, and this was a gift from Karen at Run Right Reads. Karen knows that I'm interested in reading more about the Windrush generation. She and I and Patrice and Doris read Small Island by Andrea Levy last year, I think, or maybe, yeah, I believe it was last year we read that book. Really enjoyed it and really piqued my interest to read more about that particular time period in the UK and about these people who migrated from places in the Caribbean to the UK after World War II. And she had read this book and recommended it to me and then purchased this copy for me and sent it to me. So thank you so much again, Karen. And I love it because it is one of these Penguin classics, but it's this spine, which is hard for me to get a hold of where I live. And so she had this sent to me from Book Depository. And so, yeah, I'm really tickled to have this copy, really tickled to read more about this particular period in time that I am very interested in. This is a story about a man, who is fresh off the boat into London in the 1950s and what happens to him as he tries to begin his new life in London. So, yeah, it just sounds fantastic. And it's a little slim thing. So that's kind of fun too, because I often get sucked into a lot of big books. And so it's nice sometimes to mix in some smaller books when I can. So that's the only thing that I brought in on the physical TBR. So the overall number right now is 104, which I'm really hopeful that I'm going to get that number at least below 100 at some point this year. I don't know if it will be in May because, as I said, my vacation is coming up pretty soon, and I do have some book shopping planned during that time period, and it's going to be really hard for me to read books off my physical TBR because I'm not taking books off my physical TBR on the trip. I'm going to be reading from my Kindle and listening to audiobooks on my phone because I don't want to have a lot of books in my luggage. We're trying to pack really light so that we don't have a lot to carry because we have a lot of places we're going to. So yeah, that's the plan for this month. So we'll see how we get on. Really excited to continue. I know I've talked about this before, but this is just a game that I play with myself. This is not in any way my opinion about what the size of anyone's TBR should be. I have no opinion about what anybody else's physical TBR should be in terms of size. I think it should be whatever makes you happy and brings you joy and doesn't, mess with the integrity of the structure of your house. And I don't particularly feel like I have space to have more than 100 books on my TBR. It's not the issue. The issue is I really enjoy the process of keeping track of how many books I have coming in and trying to get this number down to below 100. It's just a fun game for me. So that's why I continue to do it. So no pressure. I'm not trying to put pressure on anyone else. And I just want to bring this up every so often because I do still get questions in the comments about, what my purpose is. Do I want to get to zero? I don't want to get to zero. I don't ever want to be at zero. That would be highly, highly stressful to me if I was at a physical TBR of 0. So that is it, I think, for the month. Hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.